So, welcome to SAS Power's Energy Education Series, Power Talks. My name is Rachel Molnar. I work here at SAS Power in support of the Future Supply Engagement Project, and I'm going to be your host and moderator today. I want to extend a warm welcome to all of you for joining us for our final webinar of the Fall 2023 Power Talk Series, Customer Renewable Programs, Alternatives to Self-Generation. I will introduce our two panelists shortly, but before I do that, I'd like to invite Jenna to do the land acknowledgement.
Thanks, Rachel. So the work we do at SAS Power reaches the ancestral lands of many nations. This includes those nations on Treaty 2, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 10 territories, as well as the Lakota, Dakota, and Métis nations. We respect and honor Indigenous knowledge and the ancestral lands of Indigenous peoples and are committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. Today, I'm joining you from Treaty 4 land here in Regina. And at SAS Power, we're encouraged to take a moment after the land acknowledgement to share a personal action we've taken towards truth and reconciliation. So reconciliation includes the need to understand the history between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. So one way that I have personally myself worked on expanding my knowledge of that relationship is by listening to different podcasts. And one that I've really enjoyed and would recommend to others is from a local Saskatchewan journalist, Connie Walker. The podcast is called Stolen: Surviving St. Michael's. And in it, Connie describes her own family's experiences with residential schools and reflects on how those experiences impacted her family members and in turn herself. So I definitely recommend that podcast and actually all the podcasts that Connie has. She has a few others in that Stolen series, as well as one through CBC called Missing and Murdered. She's just really a great journalist and I really recommend her.
Oh, awesome. Thanks, Jenna. All right, now let's start with some background about why we're here today. Saskatchewan's power system is changing, and SAS Power is in the process of updating our long-term power supply plan. We know that our plan must deliver cost-effective, reliable, and sustainable power, but how do we get there? That's what our Future Supply Plan Engagement Project is all about. It's a 5-stage process, and we're looking for your input at every stage. As you can see, we wrapped up stage 2 earlier this year in May. In this stage, we asked Saskatchewan residents about the power supply options they preferred. We also learned which values and priorities were most important to them. Over 15,000 Saskatchewan residents participated. And you can read about what they had to say in our What We Heard report that's posted over at saspower.com/future supply. One of the topics folks wanted to learn about more are the options for renewable generation. So for today, we've brought together two panelists from our customer solutions team to tell us about a potential new program they're working on. First, let's just get into a bit of the webinar support here and how this is going to work. So at the bottom of your screen, you should see a black banner that includes a chat button. Please use the chat if you're experiencing any technical issues, and one of our team members is going to try to help you out. You'll also see a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, and that's where you can add your questions for our panelists. These questions can only be seen by your hosts. I'll be pulling in your questions for our panelists, and if time allows, I'll get to some additional Q&A at the end of today's event. But please keep in mind, I'm going to be looking for questions related to this proposed shared renewables program. And if I'm not able to get to your question, or if it's off topic, you can always submit it over at saspower.com/engage. We also have a future supply planning resource page at saspower.com, where you can find all of our previous power talks and other engagement sessions posted. And finally, we're recording today's event, and it's going to be posted online for those who couldn't make it, or if you want to rewatch it or share the session with others. Okay, let's meet our panelists. First up, Jenna. So Jenna's worked at SAS Power since completing her Bachelor of Arts degree from the University of Regina in 2008. She served as a consultant for the customer solutions team for the last 5 years, expanding her knowledge of the utility industry, specifically focused on customer generation and distributed energy resources. She's passionate about the environment and loves that through her role, she can help forward the energy transition in her home province. This past year, Jenna became co-chair of SAS Power's employee-led sustainability network, which provides her another opportunity to promote education and positive change where she works. Welcome, Jenna. Next up, Amanda. So Amanda is also a consultant in SAS Power's customer strategy and solutions area. She's one of the primary leads on the corporation's customer self-generation and renewables portfolio. Her background is in customer service, program development, and strategic planning. She holds a Bachelor's of Business Admin from the University of Regina and a Master's of Business Admin with a specialization in business and data analytics from the University of Fredericton. Amanda spends her days researching and developing innovative programs within the energy space to support the province's journey to net zero greenhouse gas emissions. Welcome, Amanda. So today's session is going to include multiple polls because we're looking to collect feedback on the options for this new renewable generation program. So we wanted to get started with a trivia question just to break the ice, test out the poll function, and make sure it's working properly for everyone. So you should see that first poll trivia question up there for you. The question is, as of March 31st, 2023, what percentage of SAS Power's generating capacity comes from renewable sources? Your options are 0, 25%, 34%, or 47%. So we'll just give folks a little bit of time here to get their answers in. Okay, it looks like most of you are thinking it's 25%. Okay, it looks like that's pretty much everyone. So why don't we go ahead and end that poll, share those results back. Okay, so yeah, 72% of you think 25%. So the correct answer is actually 34. So you can see on that donut graph there, 21% of the capacity comes from hydro or hydro imports, 11% from wind, and 2% from solar. All right. Okay, Jenna, let's bring you into this. So I know we're here to talk about the Shared Renewables program. Before we get to that, I think we need to talk a bit about wind and solar generation first. That's because those are the two generation options we're looking at for the program. So what can you tell us about wind generation? I know that throughout our engagement project, we've heard concerns around its impact on birds and bats, maybe the recyclability of the blades, and even its reliability as a generation source.
Yeah, that's right. Those are topics that we've also heard through our engagement of this program as well. So just to touch on a few of those things here. So first off, we know that wind generation is available about 40 to 45% of the time. And that's because it can't run in certain condition. It needs to be windy, of course, but it also can't be too cold or too windy. So it's not a source that can be counted on 100% of the time. It does need a backup source. In regards to impacts to wildlife, it's definitely something we consider when siting any new power project. So our environment team uses existing data and field studies to find what effects a project may have on birds, on bats, and any other species in the area. And there have been multiple research studies on the effects of Canadian and North American wind projects on bird mortality. They've shown that the risk of population level effects to birds is low. For example, a study completed in 2013 concluded that wind energy contributes less than 0.01% of total mortality relative to other major sources. And also a related study shows that less than 0.2% of the population of any bird species is affected by mortality or displacement from wind turbine development. And that population level impacts are unlikely as long as highly sensitive or rare habitats and concentration areas for species at risk are avoided. And then to the question of emissions, we know the life cycle of a wind turbine, including fabrication, installation, all those things produces fewer greenhouse gas emissions than the life cycle of, say, a power plant using coal or natural gas. And then talking about the lifespan of a wind facility, it's about 20 to 30 years. And at the end of their lives, wind turbines will be decommissioned. So the units will be disassembled and up to 90% of their components, including a lot of the steel, will be sent for recycling. And then the remainder is sent to landfill. A portion of the foundations will be removed and the remainder will be covered and left in place.
Okay, thanks for that. Amanda, what can you tell us about solar generation?
Yeah, so like wind, solar isn't available all of the time. Solar is available approximately 25% of the time. So again, it's one of those generation options that we need to make sure we have some backup for it. So for solar, we're looking at 2 different lifespans depending on the technology that's being used, and that range is 20 to 30 years. And then for solar generation, the use of heavy metals in the manufacturing makes disposal and recycling a concern. However, it's estimated that solar panels are more than 90% recyclable, and efforts are being made in North America to increase recyclability to reduce waste.
Awesome. Thanks, ladies. I actually should note here too that members of our environment team covered these topics in much greater detail in our September 26th Power Talk event. So if you want to learn more, definitely seek that video out on sasspower.com or up on YouTube. So now turning to what's coming up in the wind and solar space on the utility scale. Jenna, can you tell us what's on the horizon?
Yeah, SaskPower is committed to achieving a net zero greenhouse gas emissions power system by 2050 or earlier. To help get there, we plan to add up to 3,000 megawatts of wind and solar generation by 2035. And just to talk about where we're at right now, we are in the competitive process to build 400 megawatts of wind and 200 megawatts of solar power in South Central Saskatchewan. And then you'll also see on the slide that there's reference to that there is a competition that's recently closed for a 100 megawatt solar facility near Estevan, which actually will be the largest solar facility in Saskatchewan to date. So that's super exciting. And then there also is a 200 megawatt wind project, that Beckovar wind project, and it's expected to come online by the end of 2024. So definitely lots happening there.
Awesome. Thanks. So let's turn to our first poll here. We know SaskPower is working to reach net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050 or earlier. So now we want to know, how important is it to you to reduce your carbon footprint? So your choices here: not important, somewhat important, or incredibly important. So we'll let these results come in. Okay, it's looking here like it's pretty important. Hovering around that 66%, incredibly important. Nice. Okay. Okay, well, while that finishes off there, Amanda, from what you're seeing here so far, how does this compare to what we've been hearing from other Saskatchewan residents on this topic?
Well, Rachel, we've been asking our residential and business customers about their opinions on reducing their carbon footprint and renewable energy for quite some time now. So on this topic of reducing their carbon footprint, we've seen similar results to these, and that it is important to most people. So we've asked customers about how important it is to them to have the option to purchase renewable power, and 51% of our business customers say it's very or somewhat important. And then 61% of our residential customers also say it's very or somewhat important. So very similar to what we're seeing here in our poll today. So our takeaway is that our customers want to reduce their carbon footprint and purchase renewable power.
Yeah, that really bears out in these results here. So thanks for that background. Okay, so shifting gears a bit here. So I think most folks who are joining us today know that an energy transition is underway across the globe. There's a shift towards low carbon and renewable energy production. And then we know this transition is going to require SaskPower to evolve into a different kind of power company. So SaskPower's customer solutions team plays an increasingly important role in the transition. Can you please share with us kind of the work that your team is overseeing and advancing at SaskPower?
Yeah, so I definitely feel lucky to be part of this innovative team and to be part of contributing to that energy transition right here in Saskatchewan. So just to talk a little bit about what our team does overall before we dive into the specific Renewable Shares program. So yeah, our team is 13 people who focus on developing and delivering programs, offerings, and educational resources for our customers, really under 3 key areas that are showing up on the screen here. So I'll just give a brief description about each of the 3 circles here so people have that background. So the one at the top there, energy efficiency, DSM, which stands for demand side management, and affordability. So all of these are focused on helping our customers reduce their consumption in order to save money on their bills, as well as focus on conservation. And all of this in turn helps SaskPower by reducing the need to build new generation facilities. So that's that top circle there. The one on the left, the electrification and EVs, or electric vehicles. So this group on our team is focused on education and awareness for our customers, as well as working with others in SAS Power to understand and manage the impact that electrification, which includes EVs, will have on how we plan and operate our grid. And then the third circle there is the area that Amanda and I are focused on, customer generation and renewable solutions. So what fits under that bucket is we've kind of split it into two different sides. So the first one is that customer generation side, and that's where we are looking at what programs, offerings, as well as education do we want to offer for our customers who want to generate power. So that's where our net metering program fits in, for example. So this side of the portfolio is not why we're here today. We will talk a little bit at the end of the session about what's exciting and upcoming for that area. So stay tuned for that. But really the focus of today's Power Talks is that we want to focus on that renewable side of our portfolio of work. And just to describe this at a high level, this is any sort of offering that allows customers to participate in the renewable space without having to generate power themselves. So yeah, today we're looking forward to giving you all an overview of the program idea, that shared renewables that we've been talking about, and hearing what you all think through some interactive polls.
Great. Thanks for that overview. Okay, Amanda, to you. Can you please explain exactly what is a shared renewables program?
For sure. So at a high level, this program is for customers who want to use power generated from wind and solar, but can't or don't want to install and manage their own renewable power generation on their home or business. Now, this type of program is actually not new to the energy space, but it is going to be new to Saskatchewan.
And so why is SAS Power looking at this program or considering it?
So there's several reasons why our team is considering this potential program. One, we've already heard it here, but we know our customers are interested in renewable energy, and this program gives them the opportunity to reduce their carbon footprint. So like I mentioned, we saw that in the poll results just a few minutes ago. Number two, this program, Shared Renewables, offers an accessible way for customers to participate in renewable generation because it doesn't require installing generation at a home or business. So we see this particularly beneficial for customers who rent, live in multi-unit dwellings, whose homes aren't conducive to solar generation. So for example, their roof is shaded and it doesn't get enough sunlight. Those that don't have access to a large capital investment, and those looking for an easy and risk-free way to participate in renewable power generation. And then finally, we're looking at a shared renewables program because throughout our research, we've learned about similar programs that have had incredible success in other jurisdictions.
Okay, so I know you're going to get into this a bit more, but at a high level, how does this program work financially?
All right, so once a customer enrolls in the program, their monthly subscription fee will be added to their monthly SAS Power bill. After that, there's no additional steps for participation. The fee on your bill will support the cost of a portion of a renewable power generating facility that's not on your home and business. So it's a lot like leasing, and that's because customers won't own the equipment that they would have put on their home or business. This monthly subscription or lease fee is for a portion of the facility that covers the costs associated with building the facility, operating and maintaining the wind or solar facility, as well as administering the program. There's no additional upfront cost to enroll. It's just the monthly fee that I've discussed. And there's no contract term, and you can cancel at any time. So for customers, they can actually choose which percentage of their power consumption will come from this shared renewable power program, whether that's a portion of it or all of it. And the benefit of participating in this program is that subscribers earn credits based on the amount of power generated by that leased portion of the facility. So this program is intended for our residential and small business customers, and it's open to all SAS Power customers, except those in the net metering program. And the reason that it's only for those outside of the net metering program is because we want to increase accessibility to renewable energy in the province, and net metering customers are already participating in the renewable generation space.
Okay, thanks for that. Um, so since you mentioned the net metering program, Jenna, I know you've recently been involved in managing that program. Can you tell us how net metering compares to shared renewables?
Yeah, so these programs aren't in competition, but we know that many customers are pretty familiar with our net metering program. So we figured it'd be a good way to talk about how the two compare so people can understand really what the difference is with this shared renewables program versus our net metering. So just for a bit of background, the net metering program is a great way to save money on your power bill, and that's why we continue to see the number of net metering customers grow. Today, there's about 3,200 net metering customers with a total capacity of over 43 megawatts. But like Amanda talked about, net metering does require that upfront cost for the customers. So it does exclude some people from participating. So customers must also be able to install the solar panels on their homes, which also excludes folks who rent or live in multi-unit dwellings. So what we wanted to do was develop an option that would allow customers to get into the renewable generation space without the upfront costs and installation like they have through net metering. And so Amanda talked how shared renewables can be thought of like leasing. To compare that with net metering, I see, using that leasing or buying a car comparison. So our net metering program is more like buying the car. So the customer buys the infrastructure and installs it on the property. And in that buy model, that means the customer is responsible for operating and maintaining their system, as well as though they own it, so they can sell it as part of the sale of their house if they move. Where we've kind of used that leasing term when we talk about shared renewables. So like Amanda talked about, you can cancel at any time. If you move, you can stay enrolled or not. And really the main thing here is that SAS Power is responsible for all the operations and maintenance of the facility. So just really kind of wanted to highlight how these programs are very different. And the reason for offering both is that to provide different options based on what our customers' needs are.
Okay, thanks. That's I think a pretty thorough overview. So we're gonna now pop to our second poll of the day. So yeah, just launch that up there. So the question here is, how much more, if any amount, would you be willing to pay on your monthly power bill to subscribe to a shared renewable power program? Your options there: $0, 1 to 20, 21 to 40, or more than $40. So let's just see these results. And actually, Amanda, well, folks are answering this. Can you tell us what you've heard from other Saskatchewan residents about how much they were willing to pay?
Yeah, absolutely. So as we've started the research for this program, we've been conducting focus groups and some customer surveys. Based on what we've heard, the range is actually pretty broad, and customers are willing to pay an average of $15 to $60 per month.
Okay. Yeah, and yeah, okay, so almost 50% are saying kind of that $5 to $20 range. So yeah, it looks like it's kind of aligning with what maybe you've heard so far. But we'll definitely take these results away and look at those further. So you had mentioned, yeah, you've been talking to other people in the province about the program. What have you been hearing otherwise? Are there the benefits about the program that people are excited about?
Yeah, so overall, customers are pretty excited about this program. And some of the comments that we've been hearing so far is that customers like the flexibility of being able to choose how much of the renewable facility to lease, and that gives customers control over their costs. They love that there's no long-term commitment. So like we've mentioned, customers will have the ability to cancel at any time, which relieves any uncertainty around power consumption for customers. It's simple and easy way to reduce your carbon footprint and contribute to the reduction of CO2 gas emissions in Saskatchewan. It gives customers access to renewable energy for those who otherwise can't afford or logistically just can't install renewable energy equipment on their property. This program is completely hands-off for the customer. SAS Power will do all the heavy lifting and manage the renewable energy facilities for you. And then lastly, customers also like that there's no impacts or cost to customers who aren't interested in participating in the program.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we're going to jump now to, I know, everyone's favorite topic, process. So for real, though, we know these programs don't come to be overnight. So where are we now in this development process?
So we're very much in the infancy stages of this program still. So to give just a bit of background of what we've done and then talk about where we're headed. So up until now, we've done a lot of research. We've talked to other utilities to understand their programs and just really done a full scan of what other utilities offer in this space. Amanda referenced some customer surveys. So we've also done some customer surveys. And this was really in the early days to give us an idea, what kind of a program might we want to offer in regards to providing that option for renewable generation. So this gave us enough data to decide that a shared renewables type program was something we wanted to pursue further. And in our research, we did find that other jurisdictions who have similar programs do see a strong uptake, with actually many of them being at full capacity and having wait lists for customers to join the program. So we definitely know it works elsewhere. So now we want to focus on figuring out if and how it'll work in Saskatchewan.
Okay.
So sorry, I'm going to keep going here. Yeah.
Yep, on you go.
Okay, thanks. In developing the high-level details, we knew there are different ways that the renewable generation can be built for this program. So we'll talk about what those different options are. We're looking at four potential generation options, and that we wanted to have lots of feedback on from our customers. So where we're at now is continuing that engagement with our customers to gauge their interest in this type of program, get their feedback, and see which option they're most interested in. So Amanda talked about the focus groups that we had. Those happened in September, and those were an opportunity to gather feedback. But we also want to gather more feedback from all of you guys today. And I know through today's session, it really is these polls that we're bringing up, which are multiple choice and definitely, only provide you so much ability to provide feedback. So we definitely welcome more feedback from all of you that are participating today. You'll see in the middle there, it's bolded customer generation at saskpower.com is Amanda and my kind of shared email inbox. So feel free to send us any feedback that you have after listening to today's session, because all of that will help us towards our next steps, which is taking the feedback and research and using it to make a recommendation, which will hopefully lead to a decision on which option will work best for our province. So our goal then is to have a recommendation to go through our governance process in early 2024. We'll then work on getting the program stood up. So all the little details will have to be ironed out through that process. Obviously, a facility will have to be built. So the aim of having a program for our customers is around 2026 or 2027. And a big part of that timeline depends on which option for a renewable facility is chosen and how quickly we can build that renewable facility.
Okay. So I just wanted to jump in here and say, I've heard you mention a few times that listening to our customers is really important. So why is that important to you as you work on this program?
Yeah, so just in general, I guess first off, SaskPower is on a journey to becoming a more customer-centric organization. And part of that journey is anticipating customers' needs and working with them to offer effective solutions. But also from our team's perspective, we definitely represent our customer voices when we're developing new programs. So we need to care about what our customers care about. We've heard, like Amanda talked about, that many folks want more options to reduce their carbon footprint. So we want to build a program that works for those customers.
Okay, thanks for that. Okay, so now before we jump to those four options that we're really here to have people weigh in on, Amanda, is there anything else we should know before we get there?
Definitely. So we're going to get into some more details on each option pretty quickly here, but there's a couple of things to kind of keep in mind as you hear more about each option. So those things are, one, wind is cheaper than solar. So next, large scale projects are more cost effective. And then lastly, building several small projects has lots of moving parts, which will add project management and administrative costs. So with all that in mind, you'll soon see that there are definite pros and cons to each option that we're going to walk through.
Okay, so let's get more in depth here. What can you tell me about option number 1, the large solar facility?
All right, so the large solar facility option will look a lot like the picture that you're seeing on your screen. So for this option, renewable power will come from a portion of a 100 megawatt new solar facility that will be built to support similar programs for some of our commercial and industrial customers. We've kind of already talked a little bit about costs already, but for this option, the monthly subscription fee is $10 per kilowatt. And for subscribed customers, they'll earn a credit based on their portion of the facility's generation. And this credit will be applied to the bill monthly. And then between the subscription fee and the credit, customers will see an average monthly bill increase of $20 per month.
Okay, so for those of us who math is maybe not our forte, you said monthly subscription fee is $10, but the monthly bill increase is about 20. To me, that doesn't add up. What am I missing?
Absolutely. Okay, Jenna's actually going to walk us through a bill in a little bit, and that will help provide some clarity. But here's kind of what you need to know right now. So the monthly bill increase is an average. So in some months, customers will actually see that their bills are higher because power generation is lower, whereas in other months, customers will see their bill lower because generation is higher. So it kind of offsets a little bit. So for example, in those sunny summer months, a solar facility is going to generate more power than it would in those dark winter months. For every option that you're going to see today, we applied the same assumptions and the same math to ensure consistency. And now I'll walk you through the calculation, but as a math nerd, I will try and be quick. So we added the subscription fee for a customer who uses an average of 850 kilowatt hours per month. And if they subscribe to their full amount of consumption, meaning they would have subscribed to more than 1 kilowatt. So your subscription fee, the one you see on your screen, which is $10 per kilowatt, is charged per kilowatt. So that increase is based on how much consumption you want to cover. Then we estimated the monthly generation for each option that could be provided in a year to determine a customer's monthly credit amount. And then based on those assumptions, we calculated the bill for each month and then took an average of those bills over the year to determine that average monthly increase.
Okay, I think I followed that. So one of the things you told us earlier to keep in mind is that wind is solar than cheaper. So I assume we're going to see that play out here when we look at this large wind facility.
Yep, you bet. So the wind option is actually nearly identical to the large solar option, except instead of solar, the renewable power is coming from a portion of a new large wind facility. Now, how big this wind facility is still undetermined, but a portion will be dedicated to the shared renewable power program. And like I had mentioned earlier, and you also brought it up, wind is cheaper than solar, and we see that in the monthly subscription fee. For this option, it's $6 per kilowatt. Again, customers will earn a credit based on their portion of the facility's generation. And between that subscription fee and the credit, customers will see an average monthly increase of $15 per month for this option.
Okay. So just to follow up on this, because so I know with these large wind and solar, like these are big projects and they're going to be out somewhere, but people from the whole province can subscribe. So it means that subscribers aren't going to be able to see that project maybe like every day, or maybe ever. Did you hear anything about how important that is to people, like to be able to see the project and like where their power is coming from?
We asked that specifically in our focus groups with those customers, and the responses were relatively neutral. The preference was onto the wind facility because of the lower costs that seemed to be a tipping point for them. What was really important to them was that SaskPower is selecting a location that has minimal impacts to our province. And I know we're going to touch on it on a bit, but SaskPower has a comprehensive siting process for all power projects, and these projects would be subject to that same process. What we also heard from customers, though, was they do to have something tangible to feel connected to the facility. And some of the examples that they suggested was a video tour of the facility, an option to attend the facility, and then regular reporting on the facility performances.
Oh, okay. Well, I like those ideas. Okay, so I know that in our environmental power talk session a couple of weeks ago, there were some questions about using existing rooftops instead of land for new solar developments. And it sounds like this next multiple rooftop solar option might just meet that need. What can you tell me about it?
Yeah, this option does address that desire for building solar on rooftops instead of on land. In this option, the renewable power would come from multiple new small solar facilities of varying sizes built specifically for this program. One thing we're thinking is that there could be an opportunity to partner with municipalities or other organizations within a community to build projects right within a community and across the whole province, which would allow customers to actually sign up and pick the project of their choice based on where they live or different other criteria. As you can see, this option is considerably more expensive to participate in. The monthly subscription fee would be approximately about $19 a kilowatt for this option. As Amanda talked about with the other options, the customers will earn a credit based on their portion of the facility's generation, and that would still be applied to the bill monthly. So between the subscription fee and the credit, customers will see an average monthly bill increase of around $120 a month.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so if my math is right this time, we have one option left to get to, and that is the small solar facility. Can you elaborate on this one for us?
Yeah, this option has the renewable power coming from a new small solar facility built again specifically for this program. What we're thinking is it will be located on land acquired for the solar facility, and it would be around 2 to 5 megawatts in size. For this one, the monthly subscription fee is $12 per kilowatt. And again, between that subscription fee and the credit, customers can see an average monthly bill increase of about $35.
Okay. We're gonna maybe just take a step back here, but I know Jenna or Amanda, you had mentioned that you were going to talk a bit about how SAS Power sites its projects. Can you tell us about the things we consider?
Yeah, so there's 6 main considerations that we look at when citing a power project. You can see those represented through the little pictures on the slide. So they're environment, indigenous knowledge, land use, social, technical, and cost. On the environmental front, we use existing data and field studies to find what effects the project might have on the environment, like terrain, vegetation, wildlife, and aquatic resources. We engage Indigenous communities early to seek invaluable knowledge that may benefit the project. We follow each community's direction. So what this can look like is working with elders, leadership, and members of the community, as well as understanding skills and philosophies held by each community and participating in community events. We carefully look at how a project could affect resources and the use of land. That's why we seek out information from landowners, communities, elected officials, hunters and trappers, and local special interest groups. Included in that social considerations component are things like landscapes, points of interest, economic benefits, job opportunities, and recreation activities. To provide customers with safe, reliable power, we look at project from a technical lens. So that means looking at what's viable, what are the constraints, and also what are the solutions. And then lastly, we also look at project costs based upon potential impacts on power rates, land costs, long-term maintenance, environmental mitigations, materials and labor, and study work.
Okay, thanks. That's quite a list. On the topic of cost, Amanda, can you help us understand why the subscription fees go up as the facilities get smaller?
Yeah, so as you've seen, the pricing for the 4 options, it does vary quite a lot. There are 3 main reasons you're seeing that difference in the subscription fees. So the first one is economies of scale. With bigger facilities, the infrastructure is bigger, which can lead to a smaller cost per kilowatt, which allows us to offer the lower price to our customers. Purchasing more equipment means we can get it for a lower price per unit. Secondly, All the cost estimates that you've seen today are still very preliminary. All of these estimates are based on our current knowledge on building facilities. By the time we pick an option and begin construction, we'll have a much clearer picture on what the costs are going to look like. And then lastly, and probably the most important factor, all of our cost estimates that you've seen today are on the high end. These are our price ceilings. So this is the maximum we would expect a customer to pay to participate in this program. We fully expect that these costs will be adjusted as we continue through program development. For example, if we're able to secure funding to support the project.
Okay. So let's say the program is approved and shovels are hitting the ground. Is that when subscribers start paying their monthly fee? And when do they start earning their credits?
Okay, so subscribers will only pay the subscription fee and start earning credits on their bill once the facility is connected to the grid and generating power. So, and like we mentioned before, during those months where generation is higher, for example, during the summer sunny months, or sunny summer months, they'll receive a larger credit than in months when it's less sunny or windy, so less power is generated.
Okay. And so how much is the credit?
The amount we've used so far to calculate everything you've seen here today is 5 cents per kilowatt hour. Based on benchmarking work of other utilities, we don't expect that rate to ever decrease. In fact, we may see it increase over the life of the program. Some other utilities have set percentage increases like 1.5% each year over the life of the project. I do want to, highlight though that we'll be doing more work to make sure that credit is set at the right amount and to determine how the credit will change over time. So it's still very much an estimate at this time, just like all the monthly costs that Amanda talked about.
Okay. So I know it's early days, but where will program subscribers be able to see how much power their portion of the renewable facility generated?
Yeah, so we have this slide here that shows a customer's typical bill on the left there, and then what they can expect to see as a subscriber to the program. So as a subscriber, your bill will include all the same information as today, but you'll just see 2 new additional line items on your bill. One additional line item would be for that monthly fee. And so that monthly fee will stay the same every month and is based on the number of kilowatts you choose to subscribe to. So just to use an actual example, and like we kind of have it shown on the screen there. And using that last example of the small scale solar where it was $12 per kilowatt to subscribe, and say you wanted to subscribe to 6 kilowatts, then that line item would be equal to $72 every month. So that's set. You always know that that's what you'll pay in order to participate in the program. And just as a reminder, what that fee covers is to pay for the facility to be built, maintained, operated, as well as the program administration costs. Then the second line that will be on your bill as a subscriber is the monthly credit earned. So this will fluctuate every month as it's based on how well your portion of the facility performed. So again, using that same example, we would take the number of kilowatts you've subscribed to. So again, using that 6 kilowatts example, and calculate how many kilowatt hours, those panels produced in that month. So looking at the example that's on the screen, this is for the month of May. And as we know in Saskatchewan, our days are long and the sun is shining a lot. So your portion would generate about 1,276 kilowatt hours. And how we came up with that estimate is there is a really cool tool online through the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, so otherwise known as NREL. So they have a calculator where you can plug all this information in based on the location, and it'll spit out how much solar generation is expected based on the month of the year. So using that 5 cent credit that we talked about and that you've generated 1,276 kilowatt hours based on your 6 kilowatts of the facility you're leasing, you'd be earning about $64 back as the credit. So that's how you can kind of see, yes, you're paying $72 per month to participate, but you've earned back that credit. And as Amanda talked about too, remember that that's going to fluctuate. So say in December, where your credits may be closer to say the $15 or $20 mark. So that will fluctuate every month based on how the renewable facility performs.
Okay, so in each option, you talked about subscribing to a kilowatt. For those lay people, what is a kilowatt, and how do you know how many kilowatts you need to subscribe to?
All right, so a kilowatt is a measure of 1,000 watts of electrical power. So to help put that into perspective, we got a great slide up here to kind of demonstrate that. The average LED light bulb uses about 10 watts of power. And then 1,000 kilowatts is equal to 1 megawatt. And to help put that into perspective, SAS Power's peak load is 3,910 megawatts as of December 30th, 2021. So like we mentioned, the subscription fee is based in kilowatts. So that middle section that you see on your screen. And then the credit is based on kilowatt hour. Now, kilowatt hour is how many kilowatts you consume or generate in 1 hour. If you look at your current bill, you are charged in kilowatt hours. As far as how many kilowatts you should subscribe to, it's a good idea to start looking at your bill to see how many kilowatt hours you're using now. Then you can decide if you want to subscribe to your full energy consumption or just a portion. Customers will be able to subscribe for as little as 1 kilowatt or up to their full energy consumption. And of course, that's dependent on the availability of our facility. And when the time comes, we do intend to create a calculator to help customers understand just how many kilowatts they want to subscribe to.
Okay, thanks. So right away, I'm going to ask everybody here to vote on their preferred option for this program. But before I do that, I think Jenna and Amanda want to answer some questions that might impact how you might vote. So I am going to start taking a look here for questions specifically about the different options or the shared renewables program that we can answer. So just let me take a quick look here. Okay, so we've got a few different ones. Let's start with this one. Okay, so do you guys see SAS Power making money off of this program?
I can take that one. Right now, SAS Power is not expecting to generate any revenue from this program. SAS Power is investing the capital costs to build the facility, and then the customers will be paying those costs back over the life of the program. So SAS Power will track those fees collected through participating customers, to ensure they're used to pay back the cost to build the facility.
Okay. So someone's asking here around first, like, is this approved? What's left in this governance process? And also, if it is approved, who is actually going to build the project? Sorry, I know I got kind of two in the mix there, but.
Yeah, well, I can take both of those.
Okay.
So yeah, just to reiterate, no, this program has not been approved yet. We really wanted to engage with our customers to get input and feedback on what's important to them before finalizing the program design and taking it through our governance process. So hopefully in 2024, we'll go through that governance process and find out if it's approved. And then in regards to who will build the renewable project, one that will maybe depend on which renewable option we choose. But so far, SAS Power for any renewable project has hired independent power producers to build and maintain the facilities. So we're thinking we'd take that similar approach. So although the program would be administered by SAS Power, we would go through a competitive process, but probably regardless of any of these four options, to hire an independent power producer to build the facility.
Okay. Just being mindful of time, we only have about 10 minutes left, and I know we got to get to these votes. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to leave up this screen here just for the options that people have them, but let's open that poll number 3 for folks. So based on what you know today, which option should SAS Power continue to pursue in development of the shared renewables program? And you can pick, if there's multiple that you think are good, you can do that. There's large solar, large wind, multiple rooftop, small solar, or none of the above. So we'll just give folks a chance to think about that. Oh, lots of jumping around on this one. Okay, it looks about 60% of people have voted here. A little bit more time. Okay, it looks like, yeah, the large wind is coming out a little bit ahead with large solar close behind. Okay, awesome. Let's go ahead and close that one and jump to our next poll. So we want to know on this one, which aspects of this program, if any, appeal to you? You can again pick as many as you'd like here, and of course, if none of this appeals to you, we've got that option up there for you too. Okay. All right. Pretty even split here. So look like, yeah, again, I think this kind of mirrors some of the results we've talked about earlier around, yeah, just really that chance to reduce your carbon footprint. And it's looking like a close second there is that no upfront cost, which we know can be a barrier to people getting into this space. And then flexibility coming in third. So, okay, thanks for that. Now we have poll number 5 for you. Thanks for all your votes, by the way. This is great. Okay, so how likely are you to sign up for a shared renewables power program? And your options on this one, very likely, or sorry, very unlikely, unlikely, likely, very likely, don't know, or maybe you're ineligible. Because of course you need to be a SAS Power customer. So those who are with Saskatoon Light and Power or Swift Current Light and Power or are an existing net metering customer would not be eligible for this program. Okay, it's looking like it's a kind of pretty evenly distributed on this one. Okay, looks like most people have voted. Yeah, so I don't know. That one's looking pretty even right across the board. We've got kind of like 20%, 14, 17, 17. Okay, thanks, folks. So we can wrap that part up. So yeah, thanks. We really appreciate all your feedback on that one. Now, earlier in the session, Jenna, you had mentioned you were going to share a bit of an update on the net metering program and other things that are maybe on the horizon in that space.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, we've got some exciting things happening on our team. We are looking at a lot of things under that customer generation umbrella that I talked about earlier. Some of these things include looking at what our offerings should be in the future for those who want to generate, to consume the power that they generate, as well as those who want to generate to sell. So we'll be kind of looking at what the future of those programs could look like. We will be reviewing and researching some of the existing program rules under net metering and kind of opening that up to explore what the future looks like in regards to project size, the ability to virtually meter, how SAS Power approves and studies these projects, as well as the price we pay for excess energies. And that's just really to name a few things. One space we really want to spend time exploring more is how customers can benefit from energy storage, and then as well how SAS Power can leverage customers installing both generation and storage. And like I talked about before, when I talked about our process, we'll do similar work here where we'll conduct research and benchmarking of other utilities while also leveraging the input and feedback from our stakeholders and customers. So Amanda and I are actually just currently scoping how our team is going to tackle this big umbrella of customer generation and what that looks like going forward. And we really want to engage our customers through this process. So we're going to be, making sure we keep everyone up to date of opportunities to participate in the future once we have those opportunities scheduled. So stay tuned for that, essentially.
Okay. Thank you. And before we just get maybe to one final question, Amanda, can you please remind us just what the timeline is on this shared renewables program?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm hoping we generated a lot of excitement for it today, but there is still some time to get to the finish line here. Regardless of which option we pursue, customers can expect to see a program in market, hopefully in 2026.
Okay. We've got, I can maybe take one other question. I saw this one come in a couple times. So it was a question just around, now where did I put it? Yeah, around the federal carbon charge. So will people still have to pay the federal carbon charge if they enroll in this program?
Yeah, I can jump in on that question.
Sure.
So, although you're paying to offset your energy consumption from the new renewable facility, not all of your energy load is served with the renewable asset. So, since it's impossible for us to match your consumption to the time the renewable facility is generating, you'll still have to continue to pay the full carbon tax charge based on your consumption on your bill. But with that in mind, we did include the carbon tax as part of the credit rate. So you will essentially get paid it back when you get paid for your generation that month. So to kind of simplify that a little bit, you'll still pay the carbon tax at the start on your consumption, but then we'll return that carbon tax when we pay you your credit on your bill.
Okay, gotcha. And I guess while we're talking about the federal government here, I know you'd mentioned earlier there could be funding from the government of Canada. Can someone elaborate on that one for me?
Yeah, well, we definitely know the federal government has lots of opportunities for funding in regards to renewable generation and helping provinces through the energy transition. So Amanda and I have reached out to the federal government to start conversations about what this may look like. We're again in early days of those conversations as well, so not sure how it'll actually all kind of play out. But if we are able to secure funding, that definitely means we'd be able to see those subscription costs lowered because the cost to build the facility will be lower. So we'll be able to kind of pass those savings on to the participating customers essentially.
Okay. And one other question here. People are wondering if they can subscribe to more kilowatts than they need or than they personally are using.
Okay, yeah. So far, we're thinking no. We're thinking that customers will be limited to a max subscription based on their peak consumption, probably within, say, the last 1 or 2 years. And really, we want to be able to provide the opportunity for lots of customers to participate in the program. So we want to have some kind of rules around how many kilowatts you can subscribe to based on your consumption.
Okay, thanks. Okay, we've got just 3 minutes left here. So thank you for everyone for voting and participating. As I'm closing out today's session, I'm going to pop up that evaluation for the event. So you should be seeing that now. While you're taking the time to fill that out, I want to thank Jenna and Amanda for joining us. I know it's a pretty exciting time in the customer intergeneration space, and I'm looking forward to seeing where SAS Power goes from here. And please remember, they are still looking for your feedback on the program. So you can email them directly at that customergeneration@saspower.com and try to get to that by October 31st. I know there were some questions that were coming in around future supply more generally. Sorry we didn't get to those, but please know you can still go to our engagement hub over at saspower.com/engage. And once you're there, you can submit questions and someone from our future supply planning team is going to get back to you. You can also sign up for our Power Future newsletter, where we're going to be sharing more opportunities to engage on stage 3 of our future supply plan engagement project. And finally, I want to extend a very warm thank you to everyone who connected in today over their lunch hour. As I mentioned earlier, this session was recorded and it'll be posted on SAS Power's website and on YouTube in the coming days. Usually we're kind of getting them up within a week. So thanks again, everybody, and to our panelists for joining. And I hope everyone has a great afternoon. Thanks so much.